Hey everybody, good morning. It's Chuck. Well, we got a new software version. I don't know that this is much to talk about, but I haven't put a video out in a little while because we haven't had much update here on FSDBeta version 11. But what we did get last night, and you had to go to the software page and let it update it. This update hasn't come to anyone that I'm aware of yet through the app, or I wasn't notified via email. I had to go into the car after I got home from my work trip this week, pull up this software page, and then it downloaded. And the version is 2023 44.30.8. And before I was on 30.5.1. So we went from a 5 series to an 8 series. But interestingly, they did not bump the FSDBeta software version. So we stayed at 11.4.9. This is not 11.4.9.1 or .2 or .3. They kept that version, which is a little unique, which probably also means this is just a tiny little bug fix and we're not going to see anything. But in any case, I figured we would just go ahead and do a little loop here. We do a drive and just talk about everything that's been going on, because there has been a lot going on since I posted my last video. Most of the stuff has been about version 12 and when it's going to get released. But let's go ahead and get going on this drive, and we'll have a little chat while we do it. So we're starting off here. It's 11:30 on a Thursday morning, and we'll start off with the unprotected left turn. There's my typical pay attention to the road. That pay attention to the road is part of the, there's a stop. Okay, there's a tiny gap here. If it goes, I'll let it go. And it hesitated and then went, but it was fine. And then it's stopping in the median, and now it should go. And it's going to the middle lane, which it's been doing, so I'm just gonna comment that that's what it's been doing. Let me go ahead and edit the trip here. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the left lane and force it to do the U-turn like I've been doing. There we go. So I did, just so everyone knows, when you're driving the software, be very, very careful. I was given a video clip this week of someone doing an unprotected left-hand turn, very similar to mine. And the car did not stop in the median as it had many, many times before for this person. And it proceeded into the oncoming traffic. And there was an accident. So I just want to say, you know, this is a level 2 ADAS system. You are the driver. This is not anything that Tesla is responsible for. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and press the accelerator here like I've been doing and just see if I can force it to do the U-turn. And it did not. So you can see it's trying. Still no U-turn logic here. The radius of turn or whatever is not adequate enough for it to try it. I do think that that's a radius of turn situation where the car can see or what it's willing to try. Okay, so just back to my little story about, driving. You know, when you're doing things like this unprotected left-hand turn, you have to be very, very quick on the controls if it's not doing something that you expect or feel. Things can happen really, really fast. So just be careful. I know that kind of goes without saying. But nobody wants to get their car hurt or possibly hurt anyone else. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this. It's no traffic here. It stopped at the stop sign and proceeded just fine, which is fine. Okay, so a nice unprotected left-hand turn with a small gap. The creep and the hesitation wasn't comfortable. It kind of went out, but it stopped. Still kind of gives me that feeling that it can't quite see as far as I can see because I saw that oncoming car, and maybe it did or maybe it didn't. In any case, and then no U-turns. So we're going to go up here and then turn left and go on to our narrow roads portion of the drive, and then we'll do a little bit of testing there. Okay, version 12, where are we? I do not know. I will say the best information on the internet right now is probably being posted on X. There are some really good confirmations that the employees that are testing it has been, broadened into kind of the large employee wave. It's left the perhaps the QA testing wave inside, and we're getting some feedback from people that have driven with it. I've gotten secondhand information from people that I know that have driven with an employee, and I will say that generally everyone is saying human-like. That word keeps coming back, human-like. which can be good and bad. But honestly, it's probably mostly intended to be good. Human-like, meaning like, you know, it put its blinkers on like a human. It slowed down for speed signs like a human, or accelerated like a human. Those sort of things are how I'm perceiving it. Back to the other human-like portion of it, though, you know, stop sign human-like behavior is something that Tesla has to be careful with, because the way we stop at oh, and see that car coming out? It overreacted with me in the middle lane. The car behind me is now passing me on the left because of the way the Tesla overreacted to him joining that right lane. That was uncomfortable. I knew what that car was doing in my brain. Obviously, he was coming out, and the trajectory calculated was a risk. But that kind of a slowdown, we have to be careful with. Obviously, getting rear-ended is not the Tesla's fault if somebody's following too close behind, but those slowdowns, I think, are still here on version 11, and I have heard a lot of other folks say the same sort of thing, unnecessary slowdowns. That one was aggressive enough that I heard the brake pop. We'll take a look at that one in post-production with the video and let you guys make your own determinations. But anyway, back to the version 12. Human-like is the theme. Stop signs, they cannot program it or give it the data set, curated data set, in order to be too human-like, because humans do not stop at stop signs generally, like NHTSA is requiring Tesla to program their vehicle. And when I say program, on version 12, I now mean program through curation of collected data sets of videos doing the maneuver as it should be done. So maybe they're doing some of that in simulation. Maybe they're out there having ADAS drivers, you know, do a whole bunch of full stops at stop signs and things like that. There are 1,000 other scenarios that I think they're going to need to curate in the data set in order to get the intended behavior. Okay, should be taking a left-hand turn here. You can see there was a train ahead of us just a few seconds ago that we're not going to get the benefit of, but the crossbars are down. The stoplight is a solid red left arrow at the moment, not a blinking yellow like it will be here in just a second. I still have not seen any acknowledgement of railroad signs, railroad tracks. It does not even acknowledge them like a speed bump. If it does slow down for them, it's usually for some sort of traffic interaction that is perhaps just accidental at the moment. But looking at this intersection, we're probably going to get a green arrow here behind these two cars, and then we're going to join Birkenhead for the narrow road scenario. But anyway, back to version 12, just to chit-chat about that a little bit. Actually, let me just pause that thought for a second, continue the green arrow, see if I'm going to have to disengage for speed. Okay, so see how it's not going too fast because of that lead car? That lead car had set my speed for me. Now I've got a car right on my tail here, and it just said limiting max speed for road type. So I'm just going to show you guys, I leave this on for my narrow roads test so you can kind of see the distance to the right. I do have some oncoming cars, but I've got a car right behind me that really makes it difficult for me to do this test. Full stop sign. Now it needs to do a creep. This is an unnatural creep. Okay, it's going, stopping. Okay, see, okay, I'm now pressing the accelerator for human-like behavior with a car right on my rear end. I do have a speed bump here, and it did start to slow down, but it only got down to 21. And watch this. Full stop. And now uncomfortably kind of creeping. That wasn't horrible, but that trajectory is what was scaring me, the way it did not have any confidence on what it wanted to do. I'm probably not, this guy is right on my rear end here, you can see him. So I'm going to go ahead and let it stop, and it's going, and now I'm pressing the accelerator just because that was too slow. So this is a good example of not human-like, right? Well, I normally do this test, and there's a speed bump, and it slowed very late for that. Fortunately, the car behind me turned, so I don't have that issue any longer. We'll see if we get another interaction on narrow roads. And this is a good stop with a large divided median. And it usually, I'm in the road now. It needs to go. I'm in the road. So this has not changed at all. So no big changes on narrow roads. Would not have expected it. They didn't even increment the FSD version. One more speed bump here. And there it is. is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the rear view camera. See the left-hand turn? This is the left-hand turn into a suicide lane. Suicide lanes are still not treated as medians. So typically the car just waits for the traffic to be clear in both directions before it proceeds. Version 12. I'm going to keep coming back to these thoughts here. I think that there's a chance that we might get version 12 sometime before earnings if everything is going well on the current wave. Okay, I'm clear to the left. I'm not clear to the right, but I would be going to the median. And see, you might be able to see this car up to my left in the wide angle view that is in the median. He is appropriately waiting in the median. The Tesla won't do that on a an intersection without a divided median that's raised. These paint lines, it does not treat like the typical unprotected left turn. Okay, so now I'm clear to the right, but not to the left. My foot is on the brake just because this is very busy traffic and I don't want it to creep too far out. It looks like it's identifying all these cars correctly. Okay, so there's a very small gap here and it's going, it needs to proceed, don't wait. Now, okay, so I had to disengage there because of that car. It acted like it was going to jump out. I didn't see what I needed to see for it not to continue because I know it doesn't stop in suicide lane medians. And that car was in my lane and it couldn't cross to the... Anyway, that was not a good scenario, especially, and I'm going to reinforce it after this video I saw this week of an unprotected left-hand turn that was done unsuccessfully where the car did proceed into traffic that had the right of way. So I'm just not going to let it go that far. It didn't do what I wanted to do in a scenario that has done well before. But like I said, it should have been waiting for the traffic to be clear in both directions, but it didn't. That car was definitely coming in the closest lane. Anyway, just modifying the route to continue the drive. So I've got kind of a straightaway here without a lot of use cases, so I'm probably just going to chat for a little bit and speed it up as appropriate till we get to the highway merge. Version 12, I think it's going to probably come out to in customers probably later in January. The earnings call is the last week in January, so there's a chance they might want to use that as an inflection point to say we have now released it to customers. Don't know if they're going to do that. I don't think they will do it if it's unsafe, but from what everyone is saying, version 12 generally feels about the same with some additional human-like behavior. I do think some of the things that have been a little wonky, like turn signals, and I think they've gotten a little bit better on wipers on this version, so I'm not going to include that one here. Lane changes have been problematic on version 11. I think a lot of those things seem to have been improved in version 12. So, I don't know. We'll see when we get it. There will be a portion of the remainder of the month where I don't have access to my car due to some family travel. So if it comes out and I have the car, you know I'll be testing it. If it takes a little bit of time for me to get the car back, we'll do the testing when it's available. But I do think this is another enormous inflection point for full self-driving. Version 11 was basically single stack, and that has gone well. I don't think that full self-driving in city streets particularly has just taken leaps and bounds. It's improved some things, but it's regressed in others. But I do love it on the highway, and I think that is where it shines at the moment. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this little portion of the drive here. We got about a couple minutes. I'll go ahead and speed it up, and we'll do a merge here in a second. Okay, I'm back with you here. I either clipped that out or sped it up as fast as I could. That was a little bit of a long stretch. So this is a left-hand merge lane onto Interstate 295, which is a beltway here. There's a sign and a red arrow here that in the past I've had a little bit of obscuration with, but I think I'm okay at the moment. I definitely can see the red stop sign being committed to there. It's showing it as controlling. And what we're going to do is just merge onto the highway, see if the blinker usage has changed at all, and then we'll go ahead and give a test there. So while we're waiting here, so there was a little bit more news that came out this week, and this was personally for me. I did get my it's creeping on a red light. Do not go. Do not go. So it is acting like it has the right of way, and it does not. I'm going to hit the brake here in a second. Okay. And I think it thinks it has the right of way. This is not good. So I'm going to disengage if it sort of commits. See how it's, and look how I'm kind of out here in traffic. It's not horrible, but I'm further out than I should be for these cars coming left here. They're having to kind of yield to me. It should not have been creeping. It was a solid red with a stop line. Oh yeah, it's acting like it's going to go here. Interesting. It's not behaving like it's at a stop sign. And now there's the green and it's going, but I have no idea why it was creeping at a red stop sign. I did not disengage there to see what it was going to do. It did not end up proceeding, but it was creeping as if it was going to try to merge. Okay, let me come back to the Cybertruck there in a minute. We'll go ahead and do this merge here. It is wide open to the left, so it will work successfully if it goes all the way to the end. But right here, it should be using a blinker to get over. And it's just assimilating into the lane in a normal zipper merge. But and it did work out that situation because of the way it was done. So anyway, that's how that worked. Some of you guys like for me to do those sort of turns, so I went ahead and did it, and I guess it was kind of a benign test just by the way the traffic ended up interfering there. Okay, back to the Cybertruck. So I got my email in order to configure the Foundation Series. The Foundation Series Cybertruck, both all-wheel drive and the Cyber Beast, are not inexpensive cars with the additional premium of $20,000 they're adding onto it. They do give you some accessories that do make the $20,000 as items included. They do give you full self-driving. They included the white interior. You have the all-terrain tires if that was the tire you would have chosen anyway. And it does kind of come out. And then obviously you're paying probably an extra $5,000 or $10,000 for that laser etched Foundation Series emblem. I personally have chosen to go ahead and get the all-wheel drive. I did place an order. I want this truck really bad. But to those of you that watch my videos for full self-driving, it does not have FSD. It does not even have autopilot on it yet. All it has is traffic-aware cruise control. So I can't even engage auto steer, any of the basic autopilot features yet. Now granted, that is pretty typical for a launch of any Tesla vehicle. I think there's a lot of anticipation by the length of time we've been waiting on this truck, and we kind of had hoped it would be at least at basic autopilot at release, but to this point it is not. We have not heard or seen of a software update going out to the Cybertruck yet with any improvements, so we don't really know how close any of these features might be. Just this morning, and today I'm looking at my watch, is the 11th of January. The first customer VIN numbers look like they were assigned. Before this morning, before January 11th, all of the VIN numbers that had been assigned were employee early Foundation Series models, but now some non-employees are finally getting their VIN numbers. So we're probably going to get some more insight into the Cybertruck now that more customers are getting it, and with software releases and things like that. But in any case, if you're watching this channel and you want to see my Cybertruck content, I can't wait to get it. It might not be about full self-driving, and there have been a lot of YouTubers that have done some really great reviews of the car, so it probably won't be much to try to duplicate that content. It'll just be talks in the Cybertruck, seeing how things are going and progressing with each build. Try to create a baseline for the engineers perhaps to look at, or for other viewers out there that like to just see how it's progressing. That is kind of where this channel is turned into, a little bit of just of a benchmark and a discussion of how things are coming across. And I think I'm going to continue to do that in both cars. I am keeping this 2020 Model Y. This will be the primary car for my family. I'll be the one driving the Cybertruck. I do think that this car having early access and the full self-driving, this will probably be the only car I can test full self-driving beta version 12 in for probably some time. So we'll be doing that in the Model Y continually. So anyway, that's the news on the Cybertruck. The delivery date still said January to March 2024, and I did not get my invite until January 9th. I ordered it in about 30 seconds flat. And I say that jokingly, but I couldn't order fast enough when that email came through because I had really been waiting. I don't know if any of you out there are waiting on your Cybertruck orders, but I think I was in some sort of black hole on my reservation number, and I'm just doing that based off the sequential number. I ordered that truck in November of 2019 as soon as that website came live. I got a few 404 errors and my order didn't go through, and I had to go back and do it again, and I got an error, and things just weren't working that night for me. I ended up originally ordering 3 Cybertrucks because I wasn't sure if any of them had gone through, and I just wanted to make sure I had an order number. I did not get an email that my order went through. The next day in my Gmail account, I got all 3 orders came through, but my reservation number was 112822. And a few more letters. And now 4 years later, looking at everybody else that ordered that night, I am in line, per se, with the people that didn't bother ordering until the next morning. So I feel like my effort to order that truck 4 years ago immediately was somehow lost in some sort of a black hole to where I got lumped in with people that didn't even bother submitting their orders until the next day. So anyway, here we are 4 years later, and maybe I'm a little bit deeper in line. That's okay. I'm just excited I got a Foundation Series. I'm looking forward to that. I don't think the delivery date of this month versus March is any significance. And in Tesla world, everyone knows, the very first cars are not always the ones you want. But either way, I'm at the front of the line. Probably about, just going to guess I'm like at 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000. Just going by the Cybertruck Owners Club list has got about 700 people in front of me. So depending on how many people have registered their orders, I'm just going to extrapolate and say, somewhere in the thousands. So they definitely are making more than 1,000 Foundation Series. How many they're going to make? That's up to Tesla, perhaps even the Tesla CFO. They might go through the entire order list to see who wants a Foundation Series and end up making 20,000 of these things. I don't know, but we'll see. It's going to be exciting to get everything together, to have it delivered here. I definitely will have one of the first ones in this part of the country here in Northeast Florida. Definitely not the first one, but and being the first one doesn't really matter. But I do look forward to the drives and the content and doing this exact thing with it, getting the camera set up working. I have already reached out to people to say, what's it going to take to get a screen modification for HDMI recording? I have already reached out to some engineers asking about what it'll take to do the CAN bus server recording that I do to get the data elements that you guys like on these videos. And there's a whole lot of, we're not sure yet. So I don't think I'll have that data out of the gate. It's an interesting conversation about the CAN bus after listening to the launch and all the details coming out, and I would love some comments from anyone that's actually still listening to this video. Do we think this has normal CAN bus architecture even though they've gone to 48 volts with an Ethernet backbone? You can run CAN over an Ethernet backbone, but will they? Or will they take the tact and perhaps encrypt the data so that it isn't readily accessible as typical CAN architecture is, with just a twisted pair of wires that have just a send-receive signal going across to them? So I don't know. These are very interesting questions. I don't know what the answer is. If any of you out there are engineers, and did you see that unnecessary lane change? Okay, here I am talking. It changed to the right and it changed back to the left for no reason in what I would call rush hour traffic. So that was one of those version 11 unnecessary lane changes that we just got. Anyway, back to the CAN bus. If anybody has any ideas, we're starting to think about what it would take. Probably is not the typical tapping into CAN wires. It might require RJ45 wires to listen to them. And maybe it's not even possible. But I do, just from my experience with airlines, the older aircraft like the 737 and the Airbus A320 series, they speak in data packets that are programmed in a protocol that are very similar to CAN. They're in these hexadecimal words that are 32 bits long, and it uses a protocol called ARINC 4.2.9, and this structure is essentially sets the word up. It's very similar to a controller area network CAN word type of structure. But in modern aircraft like the Airbus A350 and the Boeing 787, they have gone completely away from that AirInc protocol, and they've encrypted that data in a much more proprietary language that isn't as easy to read if you're not the OEM, which, okay, you see this right here? Okay, that was a merge for that car. He didn't have his blinker on, but he was zippering his way over the Tesla, got close enough that it ended up giving him the right of way. So anyway, I'm extrapolating, and I'm getting some unnecessary braking here based on these cones kind of being very close over here. I'm getting ready to start. Okay, I'm now tapping the accelerator. It's going too slow, and it's uncomfortable with those cones. It's honoring this yellow line almost too much. I'm going to show you here. I don't know if you could see that. It was uncomfortable there. And I'm rolling it up just a bit. I've got some cars that, in that little congestion zone, there were some cars that were essentially on my tail there. Anyway, I was extrapolating the Airbus and Boeing proprietary data formats, going to an encrypted OEM level language, to something that Tesla and modern cars will probably also do, getting away from the CAN architecture. It probably is going to be very, very similar. But that will also be very frustrating for a lot of applications that have built layers on top of having access to that data. That is also very fun to play with, like I love to do with showing you guys the torques and the brakes and the modes and things like that in the little bar that I put over the screen here. So that'll be another journey I look forward to. Maybe get a little bit of help. If anybody out there has got more information on it and want me to put you in touch with the right people that might want to help engineer this thing, please reach out to me. Maybe initially in the comments, or reach out to me on X, and I'd be glad to make the relationships and connect. I look forward to doing this on the Cybertruck. We have one turn here going across some railroad tracks, and then we're just going to finish up the drive. But in general, I'm going to start kind of summarizing. I think the initial unprotected left-hand turn was okay in low traffic. It ended up doing it just right, but we did have an unprotected left turn into the suicide lane that I did have to disengage because it was proceeding into the traffic, in my estimation, real time with an oncoming car that had the right-of-way. That was dangerous, especially after recently seeing some video of an unsuccessful unprotected left-hand turn that did create an issue. I think that the narrow roads is the same, no change there. It did slow down for each speed bump, perhaps not as much as it needed to. Normally I like to get down to 15 to 17 miles an hour, and it was getting down to 20, 21. Still no change on the U-turn data there. It did not try to do that, and when I tried to nudge it, it just took a left-hand turn, even though the planner had a U-turn mapped. The merge looks like there was no change there, still no blinker there. I have heard that merges on version 12 are behaving correctly, so that is really, really exciting to hear version 12 perhaps do that the right way. That is a good thing to hear too. I think that's pretty much what we saw today. We did see an unnecessary lane change here just a few minutes ago. So if you were not listening then, just a little further back, it turned in the right lane and came right back to the left, even though the navigation had us going to the left. It should not have done that. Here we are with a protected left turn. We are crossing railroad tracks. If you're interested, look at the visualization. It does not show any railroad tracks yet. We've been doing this for over 3 years now, and it's still just treating that sort of signage as if it's not even there. That feels like a pretty basic thing for it to acknowledge. Who knows? Maybe version 12 is going to see railroad tracks as for what they are. I really look forward to that symbology. Yeah, so I think that's where we are. This is an insignificant release. It's still labeled FSDBeta 11.4.9. The build did jump up to 2023. I'll just read it again. 44.30.8. So the builds did jump up since the NHTSA release. This .30 branch, if you do remember, was the release that was essentially pushed out to the whole fleet for the NHTSA driver monitoring nag improvements. And you saw at the very beginning of the drive that pay attention to the road. That pay attention to the road is always presented, even if I am looking forward and I have my hand on the wheel. It's like an initial prompt that they added right at the very, very beginning. So that is not because I wasn't paying attention. And there's a lot of video out there of others. Did you see that slow down there? That car turned into there, was well out of the way. It took about a second and a half, and then my car slowed down. That is the kind of behavior that I call latency. It is latency, but it's almost like it saw something, and then the action of performing it came so late that it was like it was in a sequential queue, a serial queue to do, even though it was no longer relevant. I don't know. Things like that kind of make me worry about processing power, latency, and whether or not the hardware on this car, without significant optimizations, is going to even be capable of being very, very high-speed reactive. But I've been talking about that a whole long time. You guys understand that. In any case, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave some comments below. We had a great conversation, I think, here. There was a lot of information packed into it. If you're still listening to this video, I appreciate you. Thank you for that. Maybe make a comment below that you listened all the way to the end. I love kind of seeing the people that leave comments that say they listened to the whole thing. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll be looking for version 12 soon. So long.